Hey, here we go. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you on this Tuesday. We are the OVE podcast, Ohio versus everyone. I'm the Torque from QFM 96. He's Sam Grooms. Talking a lot of Buckeyes. Got some Browns news. We might have a new front runner for worst owner in sports right here in Ohio. If you're hurt at work or in an accident, let attorney Robert Schuerger go to war for you at warforyou.com. Welcome. Remember, subscribe, like, follow, share. The new YouTube channel is going on right now. But we appreciate you, whether you're on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, iHeart, Facebook, whatever it is, appreciate you. Today's poll question, we put it up early. We don't know who the offensive coordinator of the Buckeyes is, but is Kevin Wilson the right pick? Do you go to Old Reliable? Do you go to a guy who was here before? Are you happy with the pick? Kevin Wilson's there, and also we have a new name emerging too that we're going to get to. Now, Buckeye Scoop yesterday, truth be told, we mentioned this. Buckeye Scoop hit before we went on the air, and they said, we're breaking it. Brian Hartline's the new offensive coordinator. Then they doubled down a few hours ago and said, yes, he's the coordinator, and he's calling the plays. I talked to some people about it who told me they were going to look outside. It's one of those where, hey, they're reporting it. Good for them if they get the scoop. Maybe Barton knows something. He was teammates with Hartline at Ohio State. Maybe Barton knows something we don't. But no one else is picking it up. But kudos to them if they break it. If not, they got egg on their face.
It seems like to me if it's not Hartline by now, like usually when you get a scoop, you don't get it 2 or 3 days ahead of time.
Yeah, it's weird because I'm assuming they're going through the interview process. And Ryan Dace talked about how they're going to take time. I did see a quote of Ryan say, hey, we kind of knew it was coming. We're going to interview people. And something I had on the show sheet, but we can talk about it now. They're moving spring practice back. So it's going to be after spring break. It's going to be at the end of March. So I don't think there's a rush. We got to do it because we're going to go to spring practice in like 4 weeks. That's not the case. It's going to be a little longer. I mean, I don't know why Ryan Day wouldn't take his time and interview everyone involved. You know, Kevin Wilson's available now. Kevin Wilson is a twice-failed collegiate head coach with Indiana and Tulsa now. Maybe giving Kevin Wilson a shot at the job, Sam, means that Kevin Wilson's probably going to be here for a long period of time. You know, teams will look at Kevin Wilson and go, all right, Ohio State's offense is really good, but he had his issues at Indiana. He failed at Tulsa. We're going to pass on him.
Yeah, failing at Tulsa is one thing. Failing at Indiana, I don't know anybody that has succeeded at Indiana. So,
I'll Google him. He has.
Oh, he hasn't succeeded. He was a flash in the pan. He's succeeded for 1 year, and if that's success, hey, good for them.
Oh, I think he has turned that program around to a. You think they're better program than Minnesota? PJ Fleck?
I don't know. I think Indiana's going to fall off the face of a cliff next year.
Do you really?
Absolutely.
Well, they don't play us next year. That's an advantage.
Yeah, I think they fall. I think PJ Fleck's a fraud too. Indiana's probably better right now, but
I think they're better right now. I just mean long term. You know, one thing PJ Fleck has done at Minnesota, they were a doormat of college football. Then Glenn Mason came around, and they started making bowl games. Then Minnesota thought, all right, well, we think we can do better than Glenn Mason. And they hired this buffoon. One of my best moments in radio is when me and Tim Brewster, the head coach of Minnesota, Common Man and Torg, me and Tim Brewster went at each other on the air. Like, at each other. I thought for sure the sports information director was going to call our producer Hulk and go nuts on him. I mean, me and Brewster got into an on-air argument, and it was glorious.
Who was the coach? Was it Jerry Kill that was epileptic or kept having seizures on the sideline?
Yes. But it took Minnesota a long time to survive after, like, Glenn Mason. It was kind of like Jerry Kill that kind of turned it around for them again. And they've been a long-term doormat, just kind of like Indiana, Purdue, Minnesota, Illinois before Fat Bielema. I mean, Illinois tried Zucker. I mean, they tried everything to get back. So there's been a laundry list of bad teams in the basement of the Big Ten. In Indiana's one of them. Minnesota's kind of middle tier now, wouldn't you think? In the Big Ten? I mean, they have seasons.
We should do that. We should do, like tiers for Big Ten football programs, like the status of the Big Ten.
Yeah. And I mean, their coordinators have gotten taken away from them like crazy in Minnesota. I mean, listen, I don't like PJ Fleck, the rah-rah, row the boat bull crap, but it works. I mean, they beat their rivals from time to time. I mean, it's for Minnesota football, it's about as good as it's going to get.
Yeah, you should have known that goose was cooked when they built a brand new stadium for the football program, and it's outside in Minnesota.
I've been there. It's on campus for one, but two, it's just a stale environment because it's when I say on campus, I mean there's like the science building, there's the agriculture building, there's the mathematics building, there's a football stadium. You know, it's right in the like campus. You're walking along campus and boom, there's a football stadium. So it's not, well, I guess that would be the same for the Shoe, but I guess for the Shoe is different because of the parking lot around it. There's bars, there's High Street, there's activity. When I mean on campus, I mean there's, you know, maybe a half mile down the road, there's 2 bars across the street. But it's really, when I mean on campus, there's nothing around it.
It's like it's basically what you're saying is like if you didn't know it was the football stadium, you wouldn't know. It's kind of like if you go to Duke, Cameron Indoor, if you didn't know that's where the basketball team you played, you would think it was just another academic building.
Yes, and there's no parking around it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's a nice stadium, but it's, I mean, done on the cheap. And
I just don't understand why you wouldn't put a dome on that.
Well,
build a smaller stadium and put a dome on it.
What was happening, though, is the new owners of the Vikings got a new stadium, and they weren't going to share with the Gophers, so the Gophers were kind of forced to do their own thing. So you got to do what you got to do. The dome right now is where U.S. Bank Stadium is.
Right.
You know, they just built right on top of it pretty much. So I think the Gophers were in a situation where, all right, we got to do something. They'll build a stadium for us on campus. We got to take what we can get because the new owner of the Vikings don't want us in their stadium. Have you been? You haven't been to the Vikings, dude. U.S. Bank is a nice stadium.
I'm trying to think if I've ever been to Minneapolis. I've been to
Minnesota
in general. I've been to Wisconsin. I've been to Green Bay twice.
I've been to Green Bay.
Up in Milwaukee. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know that I've done a lot of pro football games, let alone stadiums. Honestly,
because you don't want to get into a fight.
Yeah, the NFL's got to fix that. Like, I don't know that they need to go quite the route of Nationwide Arena as far as almost too nice, trying to create an inclusive environment, whatever the hell that means. But, like, it's rough at football games.
Yeah. Hey, did you see the latest on Nationwide Arena? They have plans, $450 million in improvements. They don't know who's going to pay for it, but they say we need $450 million in upgrades.
I bet I know who they're going to ask to pay for it.
Yeah. You know,
so my question to you would be, do you think of the $450 million in updates, how much of that do you think is going to be visible or a part of the fan experience? Or do you think it's going to be all like structural air conditioners or furnaces and stuff like that?
I would say half and half. I think as a structure, they probably need an upkeep for like $200 million. And then I think $250 million would be kind of to give it a facelift to make it look good. If you look at other arenas around hockey and just in general, other concert venues, I think you got to do nicer things with what you have to make it look. They're kind of behind the times of what new arenas have.
I think for what, it's a 25-year-old arena.
Mm-hmm.
I know they've made improvements all along the way, but I think it's held up pretty well. You know, I think,
how many arenas though have you been to?
Enough.
Have you been to Nashville?
Yeah,
Nashville just went away.
Yeah, Nashville's brutal. Like I
don't. So I think the concourse, the bars in there, and the experience.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The surrounding neighborhood or area down there on Broadway is great, but like the actual arena, you can't walk from like section to section. Like it's really weird. Like if you're on the third concourse, you can only go all the way to the bottom. Like it's very divided on where you can walk around, and then the product in the arena is just stupid.
Listen, I would like to punch Tim McGraw in the face. You know, when you go to a Nashville game, he's all oiled up in baby oil with his shirt off after they score a goal. That's embarrassing. You're a damn NHL team, and then Tim McGraw, shirtless, glistened with baby oil is, I love it. I want the more. That's stupid. You should be banned from the league just by having, and I don't hate Tim McGraw, by the way, but I hate that idiotic video of an oiled up Tim McGraw after they score a goal.
Yeah, I call it hillbilly hokey because it's just a con job. Do you know?
I like the concourse of when you're walking through the concourse of the whiskey bar and the sports bar, and I kind of always remember the Blue Line Club, the bar in Nationwide Arena. I miss just going to a bar in between periods or before the game, hanging out at a bar. Dude, if you go to a game at XL in Minnesota, which is a very similar arena like Nationwide, they have like a Champ Sports Bar and sports bars and different bars in concourse where you can gather with people and just sit at a table and have a beer. I think Nationwide arenas, I know they have that like that long bar, but I just find it a uptight, no fun environment.
Yeah, it was really weird, and I know the guys that wear the hockey or the referee uniforms that sit behind one of the nets, they were real pissed off when Nationwide Arena changed that Blue Line bar because it was literally the top of their section. Did not ask any season ticket holders, asked nobody that frequented before they made the change to like an interactive fan zone for it was kind of geared towards kids. They did renovate the old kids zone and put the Wild Turkey bar in, which I'm sure we're going to hang out a little bit on Saturday. So it's not quite the same, but it was at least a concession in that regard. So I don't know, man. By the way, I was going to tell you, you probably don't know this. The girl that does, was it Fox Sports South or whoever has the rights to the Predators? So, the girl that does that, I believe, went to New Albany High School. Her name's Lindsay Rowley.
Oh, really?
Rowley. She's a sweet girl.
Oh, nice.
Side note.
A couple quick things since you mentioned it. Welcome to the new channel, YouTube channel. Appreciate you. Thanks, Nick. We're going to have more programming up. So, I know me and BJ are going to do more wrestling shows, and like Sam and I are going to do more hockey shows, and we're just going to pop on and do different shows on the channel when we're still with the Menace guys. By the way, we're meeting Charles tonight at Borgata for happy hour. People message me and go like, hey, can we go? Yes, people can go to Borgata. The thing is, though, is we have a table. Charles is our winner. He's bringing a guest, and that's kind of our focus because he won the prize to have happy hour with us. So, Zach's going to be there, Project Pat, Chris is going to be there, me, Sam, Charles, and 2 guests. I mean, I had people say, can I come? Yeah, you can come. You're just not going to get your meal comped or drinks, and you could come. But just so you know, we're trying to make Charles's night special. And then after that's over, we can do whatever the hell we want. And I did talk to the owner at Borgata and talk to Zach. And I said, man, you guys should do the show out. You should do Menace at Borgata in the afternoon. It's a perfect place to do it.
By the way, did I tell you, we kind of jumped right into the content already, but did I tell you what happened to me yesterday? Did I send you the pictures?
You did. Did you figure out what you ran over?
I have no idea what it was, but it was hard enough and I was going fast enough apparently where it pierced the wheel, not just blew out the tire. It put a giant gash in the wheel as well.
And where were you then? Where were you on the side?
I was going north on 71, maybe a mile or 2 north of Gemini, the Gemini exit.
Oh, so you were on the side of 71?
I was on the side of 71, and whatever I hit, at one point, a truck with an open bed trailer pulled up behind it too with a gashed wheel. So they must have hit whatever I hit.
Oh, that sucks.
Doing 75 and having a blowout like that's not fun.
People are like honking at you and stuff.
I didn't get any. I will say this. I do want to give a shout out here in a minute to a couple of buddies. Did not have any honking. Actually, I noticed a lot of people slowed down or got over. But I do want to give a shout out to my neighbors, Reggie and Scott. Reggie is a highway patrolman and luckily was on duty yesterday. He pulled up beside or behind me with the lights on to kind of get people to move over so I could have a little space to change the wheel to be able to get home. Was really not wanting to just lay down in the median with people doing 75, 80 on the highway to change a tire and make my wife and kid not have a grow up with a father. So I appreciate that. And then my buddy Scott gave me some tools, let me borrow some tools when he wasn't home yesterday to get the wheel changed up so I can have an operational car. So shout out to those guys.
Dude, I have a Tesla. I don't even know if I have a spare. I would just call a tow truck.
I did. You know what's absurd? And I'm not going to say who I called. They wanted to charge me $200 to move it basically 8 miles. And I had to wait on the side of the road for 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
I said, the hell with that.
Yeah, that
So,
sucks, dude.
Here we are.
I feel for you.
I'm here.
I really do. Dude, I feel for you.
All good, man.
Well, drink tonight, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Drink tonight. I saw Charles on the chat said, my goal is to get Sam drunk.
Charles is stoked. I think he wants to get me angry.
Does he?
Yeah, he was saying something like that
You
the
don't
other
get
day.
angry when you drink, though. I've been drunk with you.
No, I'm a happy drunk, if anything. Like I don't look for fights. I'm too old for that shit. I'm wired. I'm not the angry drunk. I like to just enjoy myself and bullshit, you know?
I get louder.
Yes, you do.
And I really do.
Yes,
I get louder, dude. I get louder. By the way, programming note before we get into it. I taped this interview, so I'm not going to lie to anybody. But Gene Smith is going to be on tomorrow morning, QFM 96, 7:05. We did 20 minutes with Gene. All right. I can just tell you it is a fantastic interview. He talks about the Michigan scandal. He talks about what they're going to do to fix college football, the stuff that Ryan Day went through behind the scenes, what's coming up in college football, some possible fixes, whether he was asked to drive the golf cart. I threw that in. He said he was behind. He said that he was on the field, with Ryan. I said, damn, dude, you should have just drove the damn golf cart. But it was 20 minutes. We planned on doing 10 minutes, but we got into the behind the scenes stuff on college football. And we just ended up doing 20 minutes. So that's tomorrow at 7:05. I would not tell you to listen to something if it was not worth your time. So tomorrow, 7:05 with Gene. And he's a consultant. Now, I go way back with Gene. When I was producer of Arizona State football, when Gene was athletic director, I knew Gene. And then Ohio State. We just talked about a lot of things. We got really in depth about the Michigan stuff. And he gives
he bearish?
Perfect answer.
Is he bearish or bullish on Michigan getting penalized?
He is, to sum it up, and I was kind of texting with Zach before the show. He thinks Michigan is going to put this in court hell, where they will just continue to fight this and drag this through the courts because that's what people do. He said if Michigan doesn't like the results, all they're going to do is lawyer up and stretch this out. And they'll continue to do that. And that's what it will be, is Michigan taking this through the courts because they know that's the game you can play. And that he thinks, and he says, if my advice to Buckeye fans would be to move on. It's just why, continue to obsess with something where the Buckeyes won a national championship. The players have moved on. The coaching staff has moved on. Yeah, Ross Bjork, who I've talked to about, is pretty pissed off about it, and teams are pissed off. But he says you have to move on as a fan base. You just have to. It is what it is because Michigan's going to drag this out forever. If they don't like what happens, they are going to lawyer up, and like Tennessee did. Just recently, Tennessee from 2023? Tennessee,
yeah, but that was
2 years.
But I don't know that that's an apples to apples comparison. And
no, but it just proves that you could use the court system though to drag things out.
But again, I think the court cases that the NCAA have been losing has been revolved around their inability to enforce any kind of NIL compensation, contracts, agreements, whatever that is. But if you have an institution that signs up for the rules to be a part of the NCAA, to be a part of this association, and they knowingly and willingly violate those rules, the association should still have some ability to punish that member.
Oh, they'll punish them, but it's just we'll drag it through the courts. Gene said they're going to come up with a ruling, and Michigan's probably not going to like it. And Michigan's already proven they're not going to accept it because there's no mediation. At Ohio State, because we talked about Tatgate. He goes, listen, I had the information. We negotiated with the NCAA and talked to them. The difference is Michigan's not talking to the NCAA, and they're already prepared to, no matter what, if they don't like the punishment, they are going to drag this on through litigation.
Yeah, but they've also said they were going to do that every step of the way. They haven't yet. So
they have. They're right now.
Maybe this is the Alamo for them,
Maybe it is. I just think that Michigan will not admit it. And Gene did say, though, Ward Manuel can only go off of what he's been told. And if Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter, and then obviously we know Sharon Moore's lying, if his coaching staff isn't straightforward with him, what's he going to do? Gene had cooperation and knew what was going on. So as athletic director, he came into Tadgate and he knew the story. Ward Manuel's coming into this actually believing the crap, because that's what he has to go off of. is they're lying to him and not cooperating. And so what are you going to do if you're an athletic director?
I just
I bet you Ward Manuel doesn't know what happened.
I can't see a scenario where 6 level 1 infractions or violations are committed, and you're considered a repeat offender where there's not going to be some hurt that's going to stick to Michigan. I'm sorry, I just can't. Because again,
he didn't say that. He said they're going to get penalized, but they're going to take it through the courts.
I guess my point is it may get tied up in court, but I think it is going to end up sticking to them in some regard. They're just going to waste a bunch of money in the court system.
Yeah, but they have a lot of money.
They do have a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to kick the can down the road, dude. They're not going to like what happened. I think Gene's right, though. As a fan base, you got to move on. Because if you sit there and wait for they deserve this and that, it's just.
Yeah, I mean, it's not what I think about before I go to sleep and what I think about in the morning, but I want to see justice. I want to see an institution that knowingly was cheating. And not only were they knowingly cheating, they were able to reap the benefits of it. I want to see them punished. They need
no one wants to see OJ get away with murder. Right.
Again, But no, they have to. I want the reaper, man. They have to face the consequences.
Yeah, I just think it shows more of the desperation that program had, where they were so failing that they had to stoop to this level. That's just desperation. It's like roofing somebody because you can't get laid. It's just desperation.
I'm not sure if that analogy is going to hold up in court or stick, but
but you know what I'm saying? It's desperation. It's like fudging in the books. It's
I got you.
Being diabolical, and because it is diabolical.
Yeah, I agree. I knew where you were going with it, but I was just
that's where you went. You can't accomplish what you set out to, so by all means necessary, you have to achieve that goal by any means necessary. If you know what I mean. Which is pathetic. I agree. Pathetic. When we come back, a icon of Columbus sports is leaving. I don't know too much about this individual, Sam, but I think that Jimmy Haslam, I got updated news, by the way, on the Myles Garrett stuff. I made some phone calls today to cover the Browns. So we'll update the Myles Garrett stuff, update the Ohio State offense coordinator search, and then it always seems like the Blue Jackets have these characters like Adam Foote, Jeff Carter, like guys we don't like. Well, one of the guys we don't like is at it again with his new team. Sam, you were right. I was wrong. I thought this guy would go elsewhere and turn it around. I was completely wrong. Buffoon. Oh, boy. Just awful. We're back in 60 seconds on the OVE podcast.
We go to war for you.
At Schuerger Trial Attorneys, we don't back down. Accident? Call us today at 877-WAR-FOR-YOU or visit warforyou.com for a free consultation. Know your rights because results matter. That's 877-WAR-FOR-YOU. 877-WAR-FOR-YOU or visit warforyou.com.
warforyou.com.
Dan Robb Management has over 40 years experience in all aspects of payroll, processing checks, tax filing, W-2 and 1099 preparation. First-time customers get 50% off their first 3 months processing fees. Give them a call now, 614-297-1158 or danrobmanagement.com. The OVE podcast. Appreciate you watching on the new YouTube channel or whatever streaming device. I was listening to our show yesterday on Spotify driving into work today. So
I was going to ask you, did yesterday's show get uploaded onto the YouTube channel?
Yeah, we were broadcasting live.
No, I'm saying did it push to it? Because when I'm looking at it now, I am not seeing yesterday's show.
No, it should be on there.
Okay, maybe I'll keep looking.
Yeah, because I saw it this morning. Because I told you the number count. I think Zach might be doing something to it because he's trying to. No, I'm looking at it right now.
Okay. Maybe just they're not in order.
I know Zach is putting it on like the Menace page, the YouTube. He's reconfiguring it. So maybe that's the reason why you're not. Because I talked to Zach today and he said, yeah, I'm going to put it on the Menace page, even though you're not using the Menace channel.
Yeah, I'm seeing some maybe. Yeah, it looks like maybe they're porting over because there's some shows on here that weren't on here earlier.
Yeah,
I think maybe he's uploading the shows from the Menace site.
Can we give some flowers? But we're our own channel now. That's why you
Right.
got to go to youtube.com at Ohio versus everyone. Can I give some flowers? The Buckeyes got a preferred walk-on quarterback, not Chase Herbstreit, but Jaston Gwynn. And if you're an old-time Buckeye fan of the Matt Finkus days, his dad, Anthony, was a safety. And I only bring this up because here's the tie-in. Jaston, who is deciding, he's a 3-star guy. He had, like, I think Akron offered him, Kentucky offered him. He did have scholarship offers, but he wanted to play at Ohio State. Preferred walk-on. Sorry, Chase Herbstreit. And he was the quarterback of my son's middle school football team. And he was fantastic. He wasn't we're talking junior high here, but he could take the ball, 80 yards running. They crushed him. They did not lose a game from 3rd grade until 8th grade. 8th grade was the first time they lost a game. They lost 16-6, and they couldn't handle it. They were down 6-zip at half, and they totally melted down because they never trailed for like 10 years. Like, honest to God, this kid's a freak athlete. He could really, if he wanted to, he played for Westerville Central. And if he really wanted to, he could switch positions, and he is just an athletic specimen. So Jaston Gwynn, teammates of my son in middle school, they had a hell of a team, man. They rolled teams, but he was a kid, and you see it a lot in high school. If you saw different players play in high school, like Division I players, like I saw Caden Saunders play at Westerville South, who really hasn't done it in the next level of Penn State. But there are certain kids in high school and middle school who just dominate. And this kid would take the ball at the 20 and go 80 yards. Like 4 times a game, he'd get like 200 yards rushing at quarterback. They had like 3 studs on that team.
Remind me, I've got an obscure random baseball stat that I want to hit you with here in a minute. But looking at his prospect info, 6'1", 175, looks like a lean, strong kid. So that could be one of those kind of guys where they put a little beef on and playing linebacker, or
Yeah, he played linebacker too.
Yeah, maybe lining up in the slot or like one of those hybrid running back receiver style players. But yeah, good for him, man. And it's always good. It's always good to see kids where their dad played at Ohio State coming full circle, right?
Yep. And there's another kid on that team, Tyler, and I don't remember his last name, but he's like 6'7", and he played for Westerville South. He's a really smart kid. He is going to Northwestern. So he got a scholarship offer on – dude, Westerville always get schollies, like 3 or 4 kids on each Westerville team. So he is another teammate of my son's in middle school, and he is going to Northwestern. So flowers to him as well.
Yeah, I know Tyler Kielmeyer.
Yes, there you go.
I know DeSales typically gets a lot of students and players from the Westerville area. So
yeah, my kid went there as well.
A bunch of good players. I know, was it Brandon Joe, I believe, was a senior when I was a freshman at Gahanna.
Dude,
I remember going to the game and watching him. That guy was a bowling ball.
Dude, Brandon Joe has looked the same for the last 20 years. Like, honest to God. He looks like he's ready to play.
Do you remember he tore his pec in college and when he was benching like 5-something? I
do not.
I do.
That's probably duct taped it and played.
Well, probably. As somebody that has torn a pec before, and it was not benching 500 pounds, I can't even imagine.
Remember Paul Keels would go, Brandon Joe.
Yeah,
love Paul Keels.
Orgasmic. So my random baseball stat.
Yeah.
John Kruk. Remember him?
Of course.
Jerry Curl, fat man.
Of course. He batted right-handed in the All-Star game.
Has a higher career batting average than Barry Bonds.
No way.
I swear to God. John Kruk, career batting average, 300 on the dot. Barry Bonds' career batting average, 298.
Really?
Chris Drew and I have a back and forth of just obscure, amazing, astounding baseball stats.
You'll get Merck on that.
That one hit me today, and I had to ask him if he was sitting down before I hit him with it.
Dude, you got to text Merck with that.
All right, I'll do it right now. I feel
bad. Merck sent us some text last night, and I was sleeping.
Yeah, I was winding down, so I figured I'd get to it today. Then I've completely forgot about it.
Yeah, I even texted him like this morning, like, Merck, I'm sorry. I was like, sleeping.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're in bed way earlier than I am, but I think I was up till like 11 something last night, and I woke up at 5 this morning and could not go back to sleep. So I'm a little more tired than I normally am.
Hey, you're not a Crew fan, but I wanted to throw this at you. The Crew lost their best player, probably the best player in the MLS, not named Lionel Messi, right? Cuco Hernandez in number 9. I'm a Crew season ticket holder. Guy's phenomenal. And I think we bought him for $10 million and we sold him for 16. But people are saying that we got taken to the cleaners. The Crew did. So we let like the best player in franchise history walk away. And then Jimmy Haslam owns the team. And then you look at the Browns, their best player they have, once out. Jimmy Haslam might be just a bad owner. You know,
I know.
Think about the history, though, Sam, real quick. Everybody wanted Randy Lerner gone. Everybody hated Randy Lerner. Oh, he doesn't pay attention to us. He's got Aston Villa. He cares about European soccer. He doesn't care about the Browns. God, we hate Randy Lerner. We can't wait for a new owner. And then Jimmy Haslam, who Flying J pilot and owned part of the Steelers, comes in, and everybody thought Jimmy Haslam would be the savior of the Browns. And it turns out the dysfunction in the front office with Alex Snyder, and to the point where D. Haslam had to move an office in with all the sexual harassment and the a guy nailing his secretary, a married man nailing his secretary. Just really bizarre crap. And you look at like the Browns dysfunction, and now you look at the Crew where they lose their best player. And apparently I'm not a soccer expert, but I could tell you he's the best guy on the team. He's like just was fantastic. And then you basically kind of sell him on the cheap. Jimmy Haslam's a bad owner.
Can I ask, and maybe that is true, and I don't know a lot about soccer. I could give a flying F about the Crew. But
Okay.
Let me propose this, and let me stick up for Haslam just a second. Doesn't this kind of fit the career arc of good or great MLS players where the young guys come in, make a name for themselves, and then they get sold off. But then
yes,
they
I
go
think
do their
just the
tour in
price
Europe.
they got though is just people
It's
are
like-
freaking out.
I guess to sum it up, or the point is, the young guys, the career arc in the MLS, because the MLS is double or triple A soccer compared to what the product in the rest of the world.
Yes.
The career arc for players, great players in the MLS, is they come up, they're young, they get sold off to Europe or to another better pro league. That's the style, the young guys that come up and make the name for themselves play in the MLS, or the guys that are towards the tail end of the career, towards the twilight of the career, that have already done the tour in the European leagues, or the guys that kind of come back, right? So doesn't this kind of fit the career arc of an MLS player, though?
Yeah, I think the problem is they only got 16 million. I think that's what people are like. You only got 16 million for this guy? He's the best player in the league. I think that's the outrage. But you know what? He wanted to stay, and he was in the last year. This league will never be a top-tier league unless they start keeping guys and spending the money. And that's the problem.
I will say this. I did not think that the league would have grown to where it is today.
Oh, I thought it was going to be done right away.
Yeah, but like, look at some of these stadiums they're building are pretty cool. Like, I know they've got a nice one down in Nashville. Louisville's got a real nice one.
Dude, if you've been to whatever.
The LDC is a pretty sick building. Like, it's very nice.
What the
But
hell is our stadium called?
Lower.com. That's
Lord, have
the
you
LDC.
been there?
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, the Death Star. It's pretty cool, man. I will say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't know that there's enough money in it yet, in the MLS yet, to where you can really compete with the Premier Leagues or the Champions Leagues or any La Liga or any of these other leagues right now. Like, you know, is it La Liga? No, La Liga is Europe. What's the top Mexican league called?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Is it better? Is it better than the MLS? I don't know.
I think it might be on par because we pay more. They're in Mexico. We have corporate money. I think it might be kind of similar.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you see MLS teams. I mean, we've kind of overtaken Mexico now when it comes to international play, where we were their bitch, and I think that it's more competitive now, where our teams will go in that Kafka Cup or whatever it is, and like MLS teams are beating some of their teams.
CONCACAF.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of evening out. I'm not a soccer expert though. I was just like pointing out, like, is Jimmy Haslam like a bad now Myles Garrett? By the way, talking to someone who covers the Browns today, Sam, for people who don't know, and I didn't know, this Myles Garrett, Jimmy Haslam stuff I went out apparently has been going on for a while. Like, he requested a trade behind the scenes felt like he wasn't, when Andrew Berry came out and said, well, we wouldn't trade him for 2 picks. Andrew Berry, because people go, oh, he was at the Pro Bowl, and people talk to Andrew Berry into leaving. This has been going on, according to the guy, I'm reading the text right now. According to the guy who I talked to, who I said, no, this has been going on a long time, and he made it public because he wasn't gaining any steam. And when Andrew Berry says we wouldn't trade him for 2 first-round picks, that's why Myles Garrett came out, because he felt like, all right, I'm not getting anywhere with what I do, so I have to. And he thinks that they are going to, despite the, Pro Football Talk came out today and said, yeah, they'll have to swallow $36 million in the cap unless they trade him after June 1st or someone redoes the contract. But he claims the Browns got to trade him. Like they're going to.
Yeah, I mean, it almost, again, assuming that's true, it almost seems like Myles Garrett was putting himself on the trade market. Maybe they weren't getting enough offers because they were listening to what Andrew Berry's saying there's no chance. And, I don't know if it's a smart decision or if it's a dumb decision, but the Browns are essentially saying they still have no plan on trading him. So
that's because I don't think they've had the right offer. And you got to, obviously, it's a bargaining position. If I say I'm not trading someone and you're calling me with trade offers, I'm trying to raise the price.
Right. And I get that side of it, but there is an outside shot he stays.
Then he's going to have to decide whether I want to play or not.
And that's the thing. Like, I still think if you want the Browns, we talked about it at the beginning of the year for the Chicago Bears, right? They had the number 1 overall pick. They could have kept Justin Fields, got assets for the number 1 overall pick because it was a top heavy as far as quarterbacks. The king's ransom you would have gotten for that pick. The Chicago Bears would have been good faster had they done that. Traded the number 1 pick, not take Caleb Williams with all that they had accumulated in the offseason. The Browns are in a similar situation. As much as I love Myles Garrett, and if they would have the Browns organization would have willy-nilly traded him in midseason or whenever without, with Myles Garrett potentially wanting to stay in Cleveland, that would have pissed me off. But now that he's kind of made it public that he wants to leave, the Browns organization, the Browns franchise will be better faster if they trade Myles Garrett. And it pains me to say it, but again, I always say you don't compound bad decisions by making further bad decisions. You made the bad decision with Deshaun Watson. That's why you're in the spot you're in right now. And unfortunately, Myles Garrett and his career in Cleveland is going to be collateral damage because of it.
Andrew Berry has convinced Jimmy Haslam, though, that they are a quarterback away and they can compete with this team. And that's what he has convinced this ownership group of doing. Now, my guy did say this. The only way they salvage this situation, and his exact quote is, if they do something dumb, like give Myles a fully guaranteed deal. And he said, if they give Myles Garrett a fully guaranteed deal, then this situation will fix itself.
Well, think about this, too. As good as Myles, like they say they're a quarterback away. As good as Myles Garrett is, you were still 3-14 this year. Like, to me, that's more than a quarterback.
Boy, their offensive play was so horrible, though.
Again, you're right. Very
bad.
Don't
you think that, though, that Deshaun, and you say 3-14, and you're obviously, it is what it is. But don't you think the heaviness of Deshaun Watson and the leadership sunk this locker room? Where it's 3-14, but it wasn't, a 3-14, meaning that he dragged this team down so bad.
But it wasn't
he wrecked the team.
But it also wasn't a 3-14 record where you lost 5 one-possession games or 5 one-point games. Like, they were bad. The defense wasn't very good this year either. And again, I understand how
they were average.
Confident. I get that. I understand, but I just don't think do I think an elite quarterback could lift this team to higher heights? Yes, but I don't think they're just that away from potentially delivering a Super Bowl either.
And don't you think it's kind of lame on a leadership standpoint of who the F is in that locker room where you allow one player to derail and then he's not with you the second half of the season, where you let someone derail your season? To me, that tells me, and I've heard people blame Stefanski. Folks, Stefanski's not in that locker room, and he's a coach. There's got to be leadership within and veteran players who stand up in that locker room and say, enough of this crap, right? Who stand up despite Deshaun Watson and not getting it done and playing like crap. There's got to be leadership that overcomes that stuff. Big boys, you've been in the league a long time. Zadarius Smith, Myles Garrett, be a leader. You got different players on that team to step up and be a leader. And instead, it almost seemed like they let one guy derail their entire season because
Yeah,
they were butthurt.
I don't like necessarily criticizing guys that produce to the level that Myles Garrett did, but Myles, you're a guy, you're a veteran in that locker room. You're the best player on the squad, on the roster by far. Step up and be a leader. Don't let Deshaun Watson drag you down. Don't let it be the albatross around your neck. That's on him too. He's I would say a bigger leader and has a bigger voice and more pull in that locker room than Deshaun Watson ever would have.
Yeah, because Deshaun's not a leader. So Deshaun goes in and shows no leadership characteristics whatsoever. And, you're a grown-ass man, Myles, right? Take control of the locker room Deshaun Watson just didn't have that leadership. You could tell the body language on the guy, right? And so you got to step up as, they had different guys they allowed Deshaun Watson to submarine this season, and it tells me a lot of the culture of that team. Where you're right, Sam, it's more than just a quarterback. When you allow Deshaun, one guy, to put you in the sad trombone thing, where you allow him to do that to your team, that shows me there's a lack of leadership across the board. And the culture's bad for whatever reason. I think sometimes you got to make moves to change cultures of the team. So if Andrew Berry, who's not in that locker room, but he should know what's going on, thinks that they're just a quarterback away, and it's definitely not Jameis Winston. I could have told you that to be, in the beginning of the year. If you just think it's a quarterback and then, hey, we're going to get under the cap, Jack Conklin, we're going to get rid of him and we're going to redo some deals and everything's going to be great. If you think that's going to fix your team, you have no idea what's going on with this team. Because right, Sam, they got to start the rebuilding process. As good as Myles Garrett is, you got to get first-round picks and start changing the culture.
I'm looking at the
I'm not blaming Myles Garrett. I'm just saying he's not part of it.
Right, and neither am I. I guess I don't buy that excuse. Like, how are you going to – you're a veteran, and guys look up to you more than anybody in that locker room. How are you going to let Deshaun Watson tear that locker room apart? I'm looking at the results. You lost 16-point loss, a 6-point loss to New York. 21-point
that
loss.
Giants loss was ugly too.
Oh, horrible. 7-point loss to the Bengals. 17-point loss to the LA. 21-point loss to New Orleans. So I'm looking at this. You're not a quarterback away. Like, you at the end of the day, your record is you are what your record is. You were a 3-14 team. As much as I love Myles Garrett, as much as I would love him to finish his career in Cleveland and be there when and if they are able to deliver a Super Bowl, I just think meeting his demand for a trade is going to set the franchise on the right path faster than trying to work a deal and keep him around.
Maybe it's Andrew Berry lying to Jimmy Haslam and telling him, hey, we're just a quarterback away, throwing Deshaun Watson under the bus to save his gig, right? Him and Stefanski saying, hey, if we're a quarterback away, man, if we had a different quarterback, we'd be competitive. Look at the year before when we had Joe Flacco of what we did. And then Deshaun didn't work. Ken Dorsey didn't work. Let's get rid of those guys and everything will be okay. Maybe they're telling ownership that so they save their asses.
It's possible. I'm still trying to figure out what kind of magic dust Andrew Berry has to have him still employed.
Or Paul DePodesta.
I don't get it. It's like,
by the way, the list today came out of people interested in Myles Garrett, and it's the Eagles, the Lions, the Packers, the Commanders, the Chargers, the 49ers, the Bears, and the Las Vegas Raiders. I got into this discussion with someone, and it boggled my mind on social media, where they said to me, your Chicago idea is ridiculous because my idea was a second-round pick next year that could go up to a 1 if Myles Garrett gets like 14 sacks, right? You put in a conditional, it's a 2, conditional 1, depending on what Myles produces on the football field, right? And someone said to me, I would rather have Green Bay's 2 first-round picks than number 10. Do you realize how stupid that sounds from the standpoint of if you have like 24 and 24, like 24 this year and 24 next year, that doesn't equal 10 on the analytics scale. The number 10 pick is more valuable than 2, like 24. And let's say a team, let's say the Green Bay Packers did have pick like 23 and 27, hypothetically. no one is trading number 10 for those 2 first-round picks in the late to mid-20s. So, yes, you can get, I want 2 first-rounders. Or you can get like 10 from Chicago, 11 from San Francisco, then a second, then a third. The value of a top 10 pick, 11, 12, whatever it is more than what the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills would have to give you 4 first-rounders to equal that draft capital of a 10, a second, possible another first, and then a third. The trading Myles Garrett to a good team like Philadelphia or the Lions or the Packers doesn't get you anything because you're picking 27. Why the hell trade him then?
Still should be a starter at that point, though. And that's, again.
You're right, but not an impact guy like a top 10 pick, like the best in his position. You get a best of your position. If you're trading for 10, Sam, you're talking about like the top left tackle, right? You need your top running back, one of the top receivers. At 27, you're rolling the dice on like the 5th best receiver.
I still think the Browns, if they can, Myles Garrett aside, if they can trade him and bring back the King's ransom, I'm fine with that. I still think what you try to do, knowing that there's a decent chance you're going to lose them, if you have to trade down from 2 to 5 or 6, that's fine. But go get Abdul Carter and essentially replace him. And if you are able to keep Myles Garrett, guess what? Your defensive ends are stacked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Abdul Carter and him wreaking havoc. I mean, that would be the logical thing to do if you're trading Myles Garrett, and then at 2 you just take Abdul Carter if he doesn't go number 1. Right? Yeah, I think that's the value. You don't reach for a quarterback unless you look at Shedeur Sanders and go, yeah, he's our guy.
Yeah, if you love one of the 2 quarterbacks, go for it. I don't see it, but I'm not getting paid to evaluate talent either.
Well, this front office has been bad at evaluating quarterbacks.
Yeah, let's be real too. Cleveland Browns haven't exactly been the best with draft picks either.
Yeah, and the worst thing that could happen to them, Sam, is let's say they do take Abdul Carter, and then Shedeur Sanders goes to the Giants and lights it up. That would be the absolutely worst thing for this organization, because then your fan base is going, all right, you had let's say they pass on Cam Ward too, because there's rumors that Tennessee might take Travis Hunter. Imagine if Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders turn out to be something, and then you had to pick them, and then you're stuck with Jacoby Brissett, like a recycled coming back, or a Adrian O'Connell, or whoever the hell you know what I mean, like a Gardner Minshew, and you're like, oh my God, we don't have a quarterback, and then Shedeur Sanders is like Cam Ward's lighting it up in New York. That's like the worst possible scenario. I would rather take a chance and miss than seeing a star guy go somewhere else and go, oh, we did it again.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns are almost to the position or the point in the franchise where they need to take a quarterback every year until one finally sticks. Right?
They were kind of doing that a little bit, didn't
they? Yeah, but
they took Deshaun Kaiser, and then they took some other guy the next year in the 3rd round.
Oh, man.
And then they took Baker. They were kind of doing that.
One's got to stick eventually, man.
Hey, we'll talk Buckeye offensive coordinator because a new name has emerged, Sam. Is Kevin Wilson the guy? Is Buckeye scoop right? Is it Brian Hartline or someone from the outside? 60 Seconds OVE podcast. Hey, it's Torg for Custom Air. You know, when it comes to my HVAC system, I don't trust just anyone. I trust Custom Air. These guys are fast, reliable, and they know their stuff. Fall's just around the corner, and now's the perfect time to make sure your HVAC equipment is running at its best. Don't wait until it's too late. Get ahead of the game. I wouldn't trust anyone else with my home, and neither should you. Visit them on the web at customairco.com and keep your home comfortable all season long. Custom solutions, custom comfort, Custom Air. Thinking of buying or selling a home? Give Lauren Torgerson a call with Next Home Experience. Lauren has been servicing the Columbus metropolitan area for 10 years. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, considering building, want to upsize or downsize, Lauren can help you with all your real estate needs. Get a free market analysis for your area and get started working on making tomorrow's dreams happen today. Call or text Lauren at 614-296-3952, 614-296-3952, or email at torgersonlauren@gmail.com. Hey, we are the OVE podcast. I'm the Torque, QFM 96, Sam Grooms. Looking forward to tonight with our prize winner Charles at Borgata Pizza Cafe. So let me help you, Sam, with Borgata menu items, okay? Stuffed peppers. Oh, the best stuffed peppers in town. Not kidding. Try the meatballs.
Okay.
And if you do pizza, get it well done.
Okay. They're New York, they're New York style, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Cannolis are great too.
I feel like for some reason when I hear the name Borgata, I think like thick crust for some reason.
Yeah, I hear you. Eddie is good though. Eddie's the real deal.
Pasta good?
Way, I think Jerry Elliott's going to stop by.
Here we go.
Yes.
If I get RSV, I'm blaming him.
My daughter, I think, has it.
Oh no.
Yes. Poor thing.
That's not good.
I got my daughter on a How I Met Your Mother kick.
Okay.
Yeah, I told her you'll like it. It's a good sitcom. It's inappropriate. They wouldn't even air anything like that now.
I've got a bunch of shows that we watch getting ready to come out, and then I forgot Shorzy season 4 is coming out at the end of this month too.
I gotta watch that. I'm almost done with American Prime Evil. I have one more episode left.
Shorzy is one of the funniest shows I've ever seen in my life.
All right, I'm gonna write that down. It better be
very funny.
I invest some time in it, dude. You would love Brockmire. Did you see Brockmire?
Yeah, is that the one with Frank Hazian or whatever?
Azarian. The baseball announcer thing. Have you seen it?
I've not. I know of it, but I haven't seen it.
I think you'd like it.
Okay.
I've only seen the first 2 seasons. I think you would like it.
Add it to the list.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty good. I think it was like on Independent Film Channel.
Okay.
And they only did like 3 seasons.
Hey, yeah, he was part of the cancel culture, unfortunately, and he did what you should never do is apologize to the mob.
Oh, never apologize. Well,
never apologize to the mob.
Yeah, I apologized. Hey, a name has been mentioned at this offensive coordinator search for the Buckeyes. Shannon Dawson, who's the second-year offensive coordinator of the Miami Hurricanes, has been published by On3 Sports as a guy who's up for the job. What do you think?
I mean, it seems to me the Miami offense the last few years has been rolling. I guess I would probably need to do a little bit more background on his approach and his style and kind of where he's been. Just looking at it real quickly, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, wide receiver coach at a bunch of different universities. I guess I would be up for it because I'm not a big fan of Hartline and I'm not a big fan of Kevin Wilson coming back in for reasons we've discussed in previous podcasts. So, I mean, there's got to be something alluring to him if he is even being considered at this point.
Younger guy, right? I mean, how old is he?
He is born in 77, so 46, 47.
Boy, doesn't it scream, though, to me with this guy? And you're right. I mean, I don't know too much about him. Offensive coordinator at Houston, then offensive coordinator in Miami for a couple of years. Doesn't it scream, though, we'd be looking for an offensive coordinator in like 3 years? Like he would come here, our offense would kick ass. Someone would hire him right away to be a head coach.
So
there's a lot of chatter, Sam, that there might be a Chip Kelly situation with Ohio State where some teams, where like when Kevin Wilson left to Tulsa, there's a lot of rumblings that a Power 5 head coach would leave their head coaching job to be offensive coordinator at Ohio State, knowing that they would use it for a bigger and better job. They might not get anywhere where they're at right now, but they come to Ohio State as OC, and that will make them, a known commodity again instead of being a coach at, wherever. Right. Insert Joe Bafutzik University.
So based upon what I've able to kind of pull up real quick on Dawson, he likes to be balanced, but puts a lot of emphasis on the power run game and being physical. So I think if you could marry that philosophy or that approach with the passing philosophy of Ryan Day, I think you could have something there. Like I said, the biggest issue I have with Kevin Wilson is that zone gap running philosophy. I hate that. When you are better than pretty much every team you're going to play on the offensive line and you have the studs you have at running back, just run some power. You don't have to run downhill. Don't run sideline to sideline.
Yeah, it'll be. I think they, unlike a lot of people, when we put this up, we put our poll question. Is Kevin Wilson the right pick to be offense coordinator? It's almost seemed because we've been doing a lot of poll question on social media about like Jim Knowles, is it a loss? Chip Kelly, is it a loss? And a lot of people seem really unconcerned about both these jobs, Sam. And I just think go back a couple years with Kerry Combs and Tim Beck, and when we made the wrong choice at offensive defensive coordinator. I think things have been going so well with this team, how Jim Knowles has come in and kind of turned around that defense. Rocky Stark turned it around. Chip Kelly was a success in his first year. The offense has been, pretty good the last couple of years. I just think people think that, we're Ohio State. Someone could come in here and they're going to be a top 10 offense and defense just because we're Ohio State. No, you know what I would do to Shannon Dawson, Kevin Wilson, or Brian Hartline, or any other candidate? If I'm Ryan Day, the first thing I say to them is, all right, you're coming in for an interview next Tuesday. Give me 100 plays for Jeremiah Smith. I want 100 plays designed for Jeremiah Smith. And whoever does the best play design to get who I think might be one of the greatest receivers in college football history, whoever gives me the plays called Jeremiah Smith, that's who I'm hiring. Because that's how good Jeremiah Smith is. I want a playbook that's just 2 playbooks. One Buckeye playbook, and then another special playbook like Barney Stinson's playbook of dating on How I Met Your Mother, but it's the Jeremiah Smith playbook.
It's just a binder with a big number 4 on the front of it.
Absolutely. And that's the guy I'm hiring. I want to know. I want to know if I'm Ryan Day and I'm interviewing all these guys. All right, they're triple teaming Jeremiah Smith. How do you get him the ball? Oh.
Yeah, how are you going to be able to scheme it up to get him the ball?
Don't you think that's got to be the situation?
That's be a big part of it. But like I said, with this Dawson guy, apparently, I think you already have that with Ryan Day. So it's how is he going to come in and kind of offset Ryan Day with a productive, efficient run game, and then Ryan Day's going to do everything he can and that he knows how to get 4 of the ball, obviously, but
you can't have what Texas happen again, right?
The key, no, I agree. And then the key, again, to all this is bringing in, you don't want a yes man. You want a guy that's going to be able to stand his own ground and tell Ryan to shut up every now and then if he has to.
What do you think Ryan wants?
I don't know. That's the issue. Like, again, I know he's made some great hires recently, but I still remember some of the bad ones. And that's, I think, kind of the issue, right? I mean, we saw what Ohio State was able to do in those last 4 games of the season, but November 30th, I still very vividly remember.
No.
So I don't know. I think that's just, that's how I think when Ryan Day is all done and he moves on, I think that's how we're going to remember his tenure here at Ohio State.
You think so? On that Michigan game?
No. Just like, hey, there was all this really good, but then there's also some stinkers in there too. Like,
yeah, but not too many.
No, not too many. But
just
again,
at Michigan.
It's not just games results, but it's also been on the coaching side and the coaching hires, those types of things. So,
oh yeah, 100%.
Again, it's all going to be mostly positive, but you're still going to have that little portion in the back of your head, like, oh yeah, he also did this, and you're gonna, just start laughing.
Hey Sam, get into this Patrick Laine story. Dude, I mean, one of the best slap shots in the league. Mm-hmm. And had his mental health things. I don't know the story behind the scenes, but I thought, all right, he struck out in Winnipeg. He struck out in Columbus. He goes to Montreal in a trade. They pick up all the salary. I thought to myself, all right, this guy is like in a last-ditch effort to save anything of his NHL career. And now it looks like, here we go again.
Yeah, so last night, Montreal, one of the worst teams in the league, was playing the Anaheim Ducks, probably the worst team in the league. Anaheim was able to come out with the win 3-2, but the last 10 minutes, Patrick Laine was benched. Basically what it's kind of coming out, and I'm trying to figure out who said it, but it's leaking out that either players for Montreal, past or present, are basically starting to come out and saying the guy's just lazy.
Well, he spoke up after the game. So there's quotes right now. If you Google him being benched, he made a comment that obviously my confidence isn't high right now. That was his That was his thing. I'm low confidence right now. And that just tells me, do we worry again about a guy who had to leave the team because of mental instability, right? Last year, whether it was his father passing away, whether it was because this happened last year, Sam, with Pascal Vincent. There were key periods and key times last year where Patrick Laine was dogging it, and then he got benched, and you saw it head south for him. And then you got to worry if you're Montreal, we benched him again, and now it's I have no confidence in my game. And it's like, oh, my God, we've seen this happen before, right?
No, right. He was a healthy scratch for the first time in his career in Columbus, and that seemed to be kind of the downfall. And don't get me wrong, Pascal Vincent and how he handled some of his players, including Patrick Laine, was based upon the results was terrible.
Oh, you could argue they had more talent on paper than they did this year.
But again, I think what you're starting to see is a little bit of a trend with this guy. And like, listen, if the guy's got mental issues, go get yourself fixed. But as somebody that's trying to coach or run an organization in the NHL, man, if I can't depend on you, I'm going to move you along and put somebody else in there that can, regardless of how much potential or how much skill you have.
You know what will happen, though? I'm just looking at my crystal ball, right? If things don't improve for him in Montreal, there'll be a team in the trade deadline who will just take a flyer and throw like a 4th-round pick, right? Let me take this off you. And Montreal, they probably will plan on not bringing him back. So like, all right, we'll take a 4th-round pick or whatever. Someone will take a flyer. And all he has to do, Sam, is have a good playoff. And then some dumb NHL team will sign him to another year deal, give him like $5 million prove-it deal. Right? Someone will. Someone will be after him because some organization will think, all right, he was with Winnipeg, losing organization, but look at him this year. They're in first place, right? Arnie's turned that around. Look at Columbus. They've had a history of bad coaches after John Tortorella, right? They look at the organization. Now, Don Weidell's done a better job, but still, look at the organization. Then Montreal, a shit show of an organization. He could come in our organization and we could take that skill, one of the best slap shots in the game, and put him on our power play. And we could be the franchise that turns around. There will be someone out there at the trade deadline, Sam, who thinks they can rehabilitate him. Guaranteed.
I think, and you're probably right, but I think we've seen like PLD is a prime example as well, where eventually word gets out and the NHL labels you a pariah. And I think Laine is right there. Like he's teetering that line. It's going to be up to him whether he's able to return to the Winnipeg prominence or if he's going to continue going down the path he is, and eventually he's going to find himself with all that talent out of the game.
Yeah, by the way, PLD not having a horrible season.
No, but he's also playing on an absolute freaking wagon of a team right now.
Yeah.
You think Ovechkin's going to be able to get to the goal record by the end of this season?
Yes.
The guy's a machine, isn't he?
He's unreal. He is unreal. I
would say, by the way, got a little good Blue Jackets news. Marchenko had plates and screws inserted in his jaw. Normally sounds terrible, but basically should knock about 2 weeks recovery off versus having it completely wired shut.
Nice. You want to hear so he'll be back in March?
A month, yeah, basically beginning of March or month and a half, or middle of March.
Do you want to hear a crazy hockey story? And we're going to get into Vans Riemsdyk this week of how tough he is. We talked about him this morning, like the most pain you've ever been in. We took calls from people. All right, here is way back. The Coyotes were in and this was before I worked with them when I was just doing sports radio there. Coyotes were in a 7-game series with the Dallas Stars, and Darian Hatcher. Do you remember Darian Hatcher?
I do. Yep.
Did a cheap shot hit on Jeremy Roenick, and he broke his jaw, wired shut. So the news came out, Roenick out for the playoffs, shattered jaw, and he's drinking out of a straw, right? Game 7 pops up, and Rick Tocchet calls me and goes, hey, JR's playing tonight. And I go, that's impossible. He can't play. He goes, no, dude, seriously, JR's playing tonight. And I go, no way. He goes, no, break the story, dude. I'm telling you, JR's playing tonight. So I called the PR guy, Rich Nairn, and I said, Rich, Toc just told me JR's playing tonight. He goes, he is. I go, no frickin' way. So within like a 10-day span, Jeremy Roenick played. Now he had this contraption on, like this plastic thing over his jaw, but he had his jaw wired shut in like game 1, right? Darian Hatcher cheap shot. Came back. They lost game 7. But that's crazy bonkers stuff to play with a wired shut jaw from game 1 to game 7. And you're out, you miss like 5 games, and then you play. The hockey players are the toughest dudes. Weakest, sit to pee, basketball players.
How about the dude a few years ago, and I can't remember how long it's been, but Blue Jackets were playing in Dallas. During the first period, it was in the first like 7 minutes, a guy dies on the bench, literally from Dallas, dies, gets resuscitated, his heart stopped, gets resuscitated, wants to go back in the game, wants to play. They canceled that game and I believe picked it up later in the season.
I don't remember that story.
I can't remember who it was, but as God is my witness, I was at the original Yogi's on Franz Road. Went there to watch the hockey game, and the game essentially got canceled because that guy died on the bench.
Wow.
Speaking of dying, by the way, and I saw it in the chat, but did check it real quick. Unfortunately, some sad breaking news: Tiger Woods' mother has passed away. This year. 78 years old.
That's a good life, though. She lived. She got to see her, grandkid, golf with her son. I mean, the greatest golfer outside of Jack. Hey, right?
Yep.
Life.
Yep.
Now, her husband wasn't really good to her.
Yeah, not the best dude, not the best father.
Earl was like a horrible husband.
Yeah, I should have said not the best husband. Excuse me.
Yeah, and not the greatest father either.
If we wanted to be honest.
Yeah. Well, we are honest on the show. By the way, did I ever tell you about my hockey story when I thought so? I told this story on the air today. I was playing on this rec team and I was goalie, but if we had another goalie, if the other goalie showed up, I played forward, right? And so I got this new hockey helmet and I had a tie neck guard. And it was just practice, so I put my new helmet on and my matching pads and my stick. I wanted to look cool. So I go out and practice. And we had two good players on our team, but one was really good. He played at Mankato, and he was on the club team at Arizona State, and he was a Minnesota guy, Dano. And this guy I know, we're in the line, and they're taking shots at me. And the guy before Dano is a slap shot on me, and I go up as a goaltender and hits me right in the throat. And I didn't have a throat guard. And I was like this. I was like, and I start skating off the ice because I couldn't catch wind. So for about 2.5 minutes, I'm scariest thing ever, man. And I finally gained my breath. And holy crap, man.
In 2014.
And I did not go back to practice afterwards, by the way.
In 2014, Rich Peverly suffered a cardiac event while sitting on the bench during a game against the Blue Jackets. His heart stopped for about 2 minutes.
Boy, he played a long time in the league too, Rich Peverly, center.
But was revived by emergency technicians and doctors.
Damn, I don't remember that story. Hockey players are the toughest dudes, man. They really are.
It's almost psychotic how tough they are.
And some football players. I mean, Spielman played a damn season with a torn pec or a torn bicep.
Can't imagine. Cannot imagine.
But Spielman's extra crazy.
Yeah, he's also wired a little different than most.
Yeah. Hockey players, dude, are just bizarre dudes. It's just how they're built. Because when we had Gabranson in studio last time, I go, dude, if they let you play, would you play? He goes, I'd play right now.
Absolutely.
And he goes, but they wouldn't let me play.
Right. There's still a bit of an investment they have to protect in that regard.
Yeah.
And liability.
So, dude, we got a lot of stuff we didn't get to. So we'll see you tonight. We're going to be at Borgata with our guy Charles. We'll put some pictures up on social media. Good time tonight. Got to get Chris Drew, get a little, right?
Green tea or Jameson? Yeah.
I'm not doing a green tea. Wait,
I gave him some credit, man. He got a fresh haircut.
How is his Tesla doing back and forth?
I'll let you ask him. He hasn't said anything bad. Let's put it that way.
We got to get out of here because I got to leave.
Yeah, I got to change and head that way.
Change.
Dude, I'm not showing up in a freaking suit and open collar. Come on.
I know, but look at you. Well, you should show up.
I should, but I'm not going to. I hate wearing this anyway.
All right, we're back tomorrow. Stand and appreciate it. Remember, like the page, subscribe, follow, share. Appreciate you. Stan Zay.
Well, of course. I mean, there's nothing better than being American. So, I mean, this is the greatest feeling. If you don't love it, leave it. USA, #1.